on your name and your reputation. And your name and your reputation will get there before you will. Be a fighter. Even when you're losing, just go down and let them know we're going to raise some hell. And the cases, let me tell you something, folks. One of my law partners, when I first started practicing, Roy Abner, who came sit in the front, we try cases that we just knew we were going to lose. We just know it. Just know it. But those are the ones that make me stretch. You know what I mean, folks? Those are the ones that make me stretch. It is sort of like if I told you, look, we're going to play some basketball this weekend for the next 6 weeks, and we're going to go to the YMCA and play the guys at the Y. You develop one skill. But I told you, we're going to play some basketball this weekend, and all the other teams going to be playing with us, LeBron James, Stephen Curry. See, they're going to be on our team. You're going to stretch further just because of the people you're around. Be careful, young lawyers. Be careful who you hang out with. I don't know if I have time for my video. Oh, I do. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't have time. My video is 15 minutes, so I don't. Let me talk about. Okay. Let me talk about final arguments, because you know, by the time you get to final arguments, folks, it's just about done. Just about done. But I got to tell you a real story. How many of you know Ricardo Rodriguez? Everybody knows. How many of you know Mark Vinson? And this is a true story. You can ask either one of them. Ricardo Rodriguez's first trial, and I know this because I heard it from him. Ricardo said he was in trial, and Judge, what's my judge name? The congressman now? Ted Poe was on the bench. And he was making an argument. If you know Ricardo's one of those people who knocks on the table, jumps up and down when he's making an argument. He just really gets into it. Yells and everything. And as he's doing this, there was a juror on the second row who was rolling their head sort of like this, coming in and out. And he looked at Mark. Mark was writing, and Judge Poe was, reading the newspaper or something. And he continued that argument, jumping up and down, knocking on the wall. And he looked up, and this lady was still rolling her head like this. And Mark wasn't doing nothing. Judge wasn't doing nothing. Finally, the lady started to fall. Ricardo said he jumped up, stopped his argument, ran and grabbed the lady like this to hold her. By this time, Mark Vinson jumps up, Judge, I object to defense counsel coddling the juror. That's true, because nobody can make that up. Defense counsel coddling the juror. That's first trial. Let me tell you something, folks. I have a video, but I'm not going to show it because I don't have time. And it was really about the trial of Lee Harvey Oswald. How many of you have seen the trial of Lee Harvey Oswald? Raise your hands if you have. No, they actually tried it. Let me explain to you what I mean. They took two of the best lawyers in the country. Vincent Buglioso, who did Charles Manson, the prosecutor, and Jerry Spence. Jerry Spence. They tried that case in the 80s. And they actually got the real people who were involved, but no actors. They actually got the real people involved, and they actually tried the case. And I had a video that's about a little too long, but you guys take the opportunity to go back and look at the trial of Lee Harvey Oswald, who really want to be trial lawyers. The trial of Lee Harvey Oswald, because what you'll see is how Jerry Spence would take whatever the state's evidence was and make it his. Make it his. Now, we talk about final arguments. I always say In final arguments, you need to take something symbol, and connect to the audience. Something they could see. For example, let's say you got one of those cases where your client is one of the drug dealers and another drug dealer's coming in, peppering on him and testifying against him, right? And you show that he's lied on some things and messed up a little bit. In your final argument, ladies and gentlemen, you know, when I was young, my mother would cook spaghetti. She put it in a big pot, she'd turn it. And when she was turning it once, I was watching her, there was an insect in that spaghetti pot. Now, what do you think she did? You think she took the section where the insect was, threw it away, and we ate the rest? Or do you think she got rid of the whole pot? When Mr. Jones testified, and we caught him in 3 or 4 lies, do we take this section where he lied and throw that away? Or we throw all of his testimony out? One of the best trial lawyers I've ever seen is a gentleman named Doug Tinker. I was fortunate enough, Robert, you know, I was fortunate enough to watch Doug Tinker do a presentation. And Doug Tinker had one of those, again, impossible cases where his client was in a bar, shoots a man in the chest, the man turns out and runs out the bar, his client shoots him in the back, the man runs and falls on his face, Doug's client emptied a pistol in his back, reloaded, and emptied the pistol in his back, and Doug's defense was self-defense. I laughed too when I heard it. I said, yeah, that's funny, Doug, that's kind of funny. Your client has emptied the pistol in the man's back, running away, he's gone to the ground, and you self-defense. But Doug Tinker was a storyteller, master. Doug Tinker said, folks, when I was a little boy, me and my brother used to go in the backyard. We'd throw rocks at each other. And one day, we were throwing rocks at each other. One day, throwing rocks at each other, and there was a big snake that came up to the gate. Biggest snake I'd ever seen. And my mother, who was afraid of snakes, got the word that we couldn't get out. She ran and she got a shovel. And she ran to that snake. And she started to hit that snake. She started to hit that snake. And when the snake started to pull back, my mother started to hit the snake. And when the snake was dead, my mother continued to hit that snake and hit that snake. We had to grab her and stop her. Mom is dead. One thing stopped her. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brown, the deceased, was a snake. Not guilty. Not guilty. It was here. Look, folks, let me tell you something. Look, we are artists. We're not scientists. See, scientists start up here, right? Then they come here. We're artists. We're artists. We start here. We do the impossible. We are. I look around the room and Juanita, yeah, I can't say nothing to these bunch. They all know me here. They're friends of mine, but you're more than that. You're my brothers and sisters. We have some hard battles we fought. I see you folks walking down the hallway looking haggard like I am. I see you scared in court. I see you sitting, especially this guy here. I always see him in trial somewhere. I see you battle. And nobody knows what it's like to battle like us. Nobody knows what it's like. You know, this coming Monday, how many of you got trial sets? See? And you're going to walk into a room where the judge doesn't like you. The jury's not going to like you. The prosecutor doesn't like you. The bailiff don't like you. The clerks don't like you. And your own client is sitting down asking you for the address to the grievance committee. If you have it. That's what we go through. But we're not fighting for them. We're not fighting for the judge. We're not fighting for the prosecutor. We're not fighting the jury. And a lot of times, we're not even fighting for our client. We're fighting so that decent human beings will not be encroached upon by the government. We're fighting so that decent human beings cannot be encroached on by the government. Let me show you an example. Raise your hand if you ever had a not guilty verdict. Raise your hand. Everybody in this room. Now, here's the thought process. What if there were no criminal defense lawyers? Think about that. What if there were no criminal defense lawyers in America? See? What type of country is this? What type of country if you were not there? Folks, I got to get ready for trials. We all getting ready for trials. And I was so happy one day when I was in trial, and Craig Washington, how many of you know Craig Washington? Folks, if you don't know Craig Washington, young lawyers, go find him. He was a legend. Craig is the only lawyer I've ever seen. I mean, we all had clients who get in fight in jail, right? Tax another guy in jail, and we had to go to trial for that client. Craig is the only lawyer I've ever heard of whose client killed the warden of a prison, the assistant warden. The warden and the assistant. Oh, yeah, that's right. The warden and the assistant warden. The warden and his client killed him. Not guilty verdict. No, that's true. That's why you need to go find out who Craig Washington is. I was in trial once on a murder case, and I'm sitting in the hallway. And it wasn't going pretty good. I was in Judge Susan Brown's court. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's not going good. It's not going good. And we're about to do arguments, and Craig walked by and said, "Tyrone, I know you're in trial, but look, let me tell you a quick story. I want to tell you a story about the Alamo. There was a place where you had 1,000 invaders coming into this small area. About 180 men defending this area. And one of the gentlemen said, 'What are you guys doing? You can't win. You can't win with this invading army.' And they said it was David Crockett. They don't really know. Cleaning his rifle. Yeah, we know it. We're going to give him hell. Yeah, we know it. We're going to give him hell. That's all that's asked of you, folks. Give him hell. A few days ago, I went to see my father and mother buried at the VA cemetery. And you go to see a plot, and the plot gives you dates of birth and death. But it brings back memories. My father told me that I will always represent him. Brings back memories. My mother told me to keep my back up even when it was going bad. Represent them. But you know what? It is not their gravesite sometime that I think about when I leave. When I leave out there is a little gravesite of a young man named Jose Martinez. Died during World War II. He was 19 years old. Birth and death date birth, death date, 19. So he didn't get to see his children grow up. He didn't get to graduate from college. He didn't get to have a wife and children like you have. He didn't get to see his children do anything, graduate from college or nothing. But Jose Martinez died so that you and I could. You and I could. When it gets tough, when you want to give up, you want to stop fighting, oh, that's easy to do. You want to go get another profession? Many a day I wake up, why didn't I become something else? We get like that. And we don't get rich doing this, do we? We don't get rich doing this. But it's not from the head. It's from the heart. When it gets tough, remember who you're fighting for. And I want you to say, folks, when you go in trial on Monday, when you go to trial on Monday, Mr. Moore, give them hell. Thank you very much, folks. My pleasure.
Okay, we have a little bit of time, so we will open up the floor if anybody has any questions for Tyrone. I want to come over so we can make sure everybody hears.
Tyrone.
Yes, ma'am.
Before we start, just so we can get to know each other better, we just stand up and say your names.
My name is Clyde Williams, and I would like to ask Tyrone, the picture you showed us of the young man
Yes, ma'am.
who presumably turned around while he was being shot at.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you point out the track? Because I only saw about 3 holes.
I'll let you see it afterwards. You can't see it from there. That's why I wish, like we go in court, we have the door, we can blow it up. I don't have it in here, so I'll let you see it afterwards.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Any other questions? Yes. Okay. I'm gonna come here and there. Hold on one second. Yeah.